The part number for the gear differential is 91786. Now this here says that it's an RC10 B6.1. It fits the B6.2. It's the same as the 3 if you get the carpet version, and this fits on your SC6.1, SC6.2. It also fits on the truggies, so the T6s. Now you get these housing here, both of them. You get this little cross section here, that's where the gears go. You're going to be getting these two little output shafts right in here. They're the same, don't worry about it. Now in here, this is an important bag. So you're going to get the seal, which is that blue one. Don't break it, don't bend it. That one's very important. It's a paper seal, paper gasket. And then it has those little rubber seals in there. You will be needing them. Now this bag does not come with instructions. As of this video, maybe they'll add some instructions later on, but it's not that difficult to put together. Well, I should say it's not difficult to put together. Just make sure you have some green slime or something to lube the parts. Make sure that those little tiny rubber O-rings that are on the table from the previous bag don't get stuck in the plastic. Now these are the gears and some of the other pins that you will need. Best thing to do, separate everything. Just start by doing that. Have a nice flat surface. Here I'm doing it on top of their lender mat. I forgot my own mat, but that's all right. Now, you have all the parts here. What you're going to need is just grab the end shaft, and notice that washer. That washer is going to go in there. You can also grease up the washer before you place it in there. And then you're going to use this rubber seal. That's going to go in there. Those are the medium ones. But make sure that you use grease or green slime. That's actually what I'm getting right now. I have some green slime in my bins. If you do not use green slime, such as this is, I think it's team associated, you will destroy those. So as the metal parts circulate, just go round and round, you'll destroy them. Usually you want to do this before you install it, but I'm putting plenty, it'll be fine. And put some on the metal portions as well that will be rubbing. So anything that's going to have friction, use this before you install everything. You don't want this to come in contact dry. Now, I'm doing the same thing to all of the little O-rings, those little clear O-rings that it came with. Now, if the video seems a little rushed, I do apologize. This is race night. I have the ball bearing diff, and I'm trying to assemble this as fast as possible so I don't run out of time between races. All right. So, like I said, anything that has friction, you will have to apply some of this. So I'm installing the other medium-sized one on the other end. So these go on the exterior portion. I hate the way this stuff feels. I guess I could always just wipe it off, but I'm in a rush. So I'm gonna install this. Everything moves freely. It's good. Notice that. Now at this point, I can grab this little cross. And if you look at the metal cross, there's the little tiny washers. Those washers go in after the gear, but the big one goes in there. So don't confuse the little ones and the small ones. And even if you did, the inner diameter is different, so you wouldn't be able to make a mistake, fortunately. So install the second one on the cap. One of the things to notice about the cap is the orientation, but I will show you a little later. So now you go ahead and install that metal washer and then the pin, but notice you have to spin it because there's one little portion where it's keyed right in there. That's where the pin falls in, right in there. Now you can just go ahead and push. Now that's the only side without a tab. There are 3 tabs, not 4. Once the pin is in place, grab the gear. Make sure, just put some slime on there because the gear is going to come in contact with that washer. Depending on the diff fluid that you use, that might be enough lubricant, but if you use a heavier diff fluid, it may not be able to go in there and lubricate properly. That's the only reason why. It's just preventative. I'm going to do it to the other side, and the other side is the same process. Once the washer is in there, grab the pin. Now for this one, I'm going to use some pliers. Needle nose pliers are the way to go. I'm going to use these ones that have a slight bend, which, to be honest, is a mistake. I should have gone with just regular ones. But you're just going to put the pin on one of those little tabs, those cutouts, right in there, and then you just slide the pin in. That is all you do. You may have to rotate the output shaft a little, but that's all right. And one of the things too is try to pull on the output shaft once the pin is there so that the pin doesn't slide one way or the other, or else then it's a pain to get the gear in. But there it is. Everything is fit. Now we can go ahead and deal with everything else. So if you can stand that up, go ahead and stand it up. But here goes the cross. So the cross, put those conical gears in, and the small diameter goes toward the inside, and then those little tiny rubber seals, those go in the back, right behind the gear. Those pretty much hold them in place. So just install them one by one. Make sure that they're not crooked as you're installing them, because they will want to twist. So make sure that they're flat and that the inner diameter is on the inside, as it'll try to roll toward the outside. Put all of them in. Now I'm holding them in toward the center. Once I set this inside of the differential casing, they will spread out and everything will be fine. Now I'm going to add just a little more lube on the gears. I had already lubed, as you saw, the little seals. But now I'm just going to put a little bit of this green slime on the gears, because there's a metal washer that goes right in there. And the metal washers protect the case, the plastic case, from the gear spinning on it. So make sure that you install those little metal washers. And those are the 4 small ones. They just slide right in. Just as you install them, just notice how I'm holding it so they don't fall out. So I'm holding the end with one of the washers. I almost doubled up the washers, but here it is. So that is it. Now you need to put whatever diff fluid you want, depending on your application. I don't know, maybe you'll go with 30 weight, maybe you'll go with something heavier. I'm going with something heavier. This is a brand new bottle. As you can see, I forgot to just check it, but it's all right. I'm going to fill it. Now, right now, again, it's race day. I know I'm off camera. I apologize for that. I was also talking to somebody at the same time. I was being asked questions about different setup. So I'm trying to multitask here. So I'm just filling it up with fluid. There's some in there. When you put your diff fluid in there, just make sure that it put a small amount and then put the cross in there. Make sure the air is out. Now here, this is differential fluid is thicker than shock oil. You could use shock oil depending on your application. Maybe if you're doing dirt application, I would not use it for carpet. But that's the way the seal goes. Now, a little recommendation. I'm rushing here, but don't set that seal until you finish filling the diff with fluid. And the reason why is I'm actually going to end up wiping some of the fluid off of that seal, because if you get fluid on the seal, it actually increases the thickness of the seals on one part versus another, and then it may not seal correctly. So that is something that you want to keep in mind. Now, once you finish pouring the fluid, you do want the air bubbles to be out of there, so you could use say your 1.5 millimeter driver and just poke the air bubbles. You could use a little pick. Picks are actually very good at that. And just lightly, so you just see where the air bubble is, poke the air bubble, and then remove it slowly. Take that tool out slowly. So at this point, I'm just filling it. You want to fill it up to about a millimeter from the top. So you want it to actually be lower by about a millimeter. And the reason why is you're sticking the other gear in there. If you fill it all the way to the very top, that fluid is going to have nowhere to go, so it's going to want to spill out. And the other part of the differential may not seat properly, so you're just going to end up with a leaking differential. So here, I'm just trying to get some of that fluid off to the side and then give it some time so that it can sit. Now, this stuff, so thick. I mean, it's fine. You can actually work with your finger. Silicone lubricants, I really dislike the way they feel. But you know, just wipe the whole face clean. Make sure the face is entirely clean. It will leave a slight little film, but you know what? That film, I wouldn't worry about it. If anything, it helps you set the seal so that it doesn't shift when you're installing the other half of it. But at this point, you just go for it and you line up the tabs. So there's 3 tabs. They key in. So if you don't get it right in the first time because you weren't looking at where it goes, just spin it a little and it'll be fine. But here we go. So now it's the 4 screws. When you're tightening these screws, go in a cross pattern. So you would tighten that one, then you would tighten the one right across. Here I'm just setting them in so that this doesn't flop everywhere, but I'm going to install the other ones. I did not drive them the entire way in, but I will. And it's very important that when you tighten, you do not over tighten, because you can damage the case and then you have to take everything apart and do it all over again. The differential, as of the time of this video, I forget the price, it's somewhere around $30 US. I believe it is a worth doing upgrade, and toward the end of this video I'm going to have some running videos. So do stay tuned, look at those. Now I'm also going to explain the difference shortly in this video, and then you can look at my Differentials 101 series and I'll talk a little bit more about it. But ball differentials, I do like that Schumacher style. That's the way I know them. But you know, ball diff, I do like them for dirt applications, and in my 101 video I'll explain in a little more why. But here on carpet or higher grip, gear differential is best. Gear differential is king. And there's a variety of reasons why. One of the main ones is you can replace the fluid, and the fluid is the resistance, internal resistance that there will be inside of the differential. Versus a ball, the only way you can add more resistance is by tightening up the differential. But then when you do that, there's less allowed movement for the ball bearings, and you can actually end up having one that drags instead of rolls, and it'll create a flat spot, and then you'll have some other issues. So you just wear out a ball diff on high traction surfaces a lot more, and then you have to constantly be adjusting and tightening it. Versus fluid, just when you do regular maintenance, say once a year, replace it. Depends on how often you race. But that is it. So the differential is set. Now let me go ahead and show you ball diff, one of the things that it does. So ball diff, when I spin one tire, see the other one spins the other way. This is when I'm spinning it slowly. If I spin it fast, notice it still spins the opposite way. So this is still spinning the opposite way. Now that's a characteristic of a ball diff. Now on a now I've swapped the differential, so that's the ball diff. That's what it looks like. Now look at the difference here. I'm going to spin it slowly. See, just like the ball diff, it spins the opposite direction. But if I spin it fast, it almost wants to spin the same direction. Sometimes it actually spins the same direction when I go fast. So slow, opposite, fast. See how it's trying to go? That's because the fluid-built differential will build up resistance, and that's why it's best for carpet. Think about it as a limited slip differential effect. Now the truck is going to have the same setup for both of them. Now here I'm showing the ball diff. Now this is the turn right here. If you look at that turn, that's the one I want to focus on. Here's the truck. Now keep in mind that the truck is running without a front sway bar. It has a rear sway bar, that's about it, but there's a lot of other little tweaks that I'm going to do. So if you watch the Series 7 race, Halloween series 2021, you're going to see how the truck rides or drives night and day. It's a reverse course though. But it doesn't do too bad, but you can't really see the way I'm driving, and you obviously can't feel what I'm feeling, but it doesn't feel as, I don't feel as secure as with the gear diff, especially around that turn right there, which is really the focus. That's what I'm going to be comparing. And here, the fastest lap with the ball diff was 25.467, well, for my truck. Now, I'm going to show you with the gear differential. Now with the gear differential, it feels a lot more controllable. You can control it more. If you look at that same turn, you can tell, if you pay attention, that I'm more confident around that turn. Here, I'm just trying to get out of the way. And like I said, there's a lot more tuning that I end up doing after this to the truck. But I take some of the turns with a lot more confidence. I didn't roll that one. But here we go again. Taking the turn, I can accelerate a little harder than before, and my fastest lap here was 24.149. It's almost a second and a half faster just by replacing the diff. Everything else is the same. Shocks, springs, set, everything is the same except for the differentials. My top 5 average, it's almost 2 seconds. So the gear differential does make a difference. Now please comment below, subscribe if you have not, and I'll catch you in the next one. Have a good one.
What? Oh, my hair! My tongue! My rod!